Hi guys, so today we're going to be working on a very simple animation in Blender. Something like this. I'm sure you would all look at it and say that, oh, we had done it before, but maybe we don't really remember all these steps now. So yeah, it's a good idea to start with this one because we have done it last year. I mean, you have done it last year. So we'll start with the simple one and then of course we will move on to more complex animations. And once we have the skills, we can always make any kind of animations. It's not that difficult in Blender. So this one over here that you are able to see, if I run this animation from the first frame, what it is going to do is basically this ball is going to hit the planks and then planks are going to fall. And this is how it works. Okay, of course you can increase or decrease the mass of the ball to have the impact a little stronger, but yeah, we can always edit those properties. So let's start quickly, and I'm going to open a new file to again create this animation to demonstrate how I've done it. So just a general file, and here, so what I have right now is cube, a default cube. But before I do anything with it, I would suggest that once you are on this screen, you should always enable this option here, which is called the snap option. Okay, now why we are doing this is because if you saw in the animation, we have these planks which are sitting on top of a plane. Okay, and the plane is touching those planks beneath it, right? So why we want to snap it? Because we want to snap or attach those objects very accurately, right? So that is why we use the snapping option, and I will also tell you when to switch it off between the entire process. So you would know when to enable or disable it. Anyway, so now I am on this cube. I want to actually delete this cube and start with a new one so that I get the actual size of it. I think the previous one was from my previous animation size. So I'm gonna add a cube again. Yeah, and then I'm going to S scaling and X, okay, on this axis because I want to make it thinner. So S is for scaling and X is the axis. So I can make it thinner, maybe even more. Think this is an okay size for a plank, okay. And I think I should also try and make it thinner on the y-axis. I think this is okay. And if I look at the actual size, if you want to make it taller, you can always do it using the z-axis, so S and Z. Okay. Now here is my plank, one of the plank. The one, another, like if I want to add more planks to it, I can always control C and control V, or I can just duplicate it using some shortcut keys in Blender. But I will have to do it 10 or 15 more times depending upon the number of planks that I want in my animation. But Blender has a very easy way of actually replicating an object and with a standard distance between them. So we are going to use that easy option. So while my plank is already selected, I am going to go to this little key, the blue key over here on the right side, which says modifier properties. So when I go here, I can add a modifier with the name array. Okay, array is nothing but it's a sort of a it's actually used to denote a list of objects or list of items. Okay, and that is exactly what I'm going to create now. I want an array modifier because I want to create a list of planks or an arrangement of straight planks. Okay, so when I clicked on that array modifier, I got these options, right? So what I'm going to do in on the x-axis, which is this red axis, I want the planks, different planks, to be separated at a distance of, let's say, 5.5. Okay, this is just an approximation. You can increase or decrease it depending upon what you like. Okay, so this is 5.5. I can increase or decrease if I want. Okay, but I think for my animation it looks fine to me for now. Now I want 10 such planks, so I'm going to, instead of 2, I'm going to place 10. Okay, so what I'm going to have here is a array of planks separated by 5.5 distance between them. Okay, so now that I am satisfied with the arrangement here and this is what I wanted, I am just going to go to the drop down menu here and apply this modifier to my arrangement. Okay, so this is done. Okay, Now, what's going to happen here is like if I select one of the planks, if I want to select one of the planks and if I click on it, what's happening here is because it's an array, it all of the planks get selected. Okay. If I want to scale, rotate, do anything with it, all of them are going to get affected by what I do, right? But that is not what I want. I want every single plank to be a separate object. Okay. So what I have done over here is all of these being selected, I am going to go to the edit mode here. Okay, and when I go to my edit mode, I am going to click on the mesh menu here, and I am going to use the separate function, and I'll say by loose parts. Okay, so now all of these are separated, they are not a group, they are separate objects. So I go back to my object mode, and if you see now, if I want to select this fifth plank, I can select this one or that one and rotate or scale any of them if I want to. Okay, because I want to have different motion or different way in which they are going to fall. They should have a natural motion attached to it. That's why they are separate objects. Okay, another thing, guys, that I would sort of direct your attention towards is that if I select any plank, like this one is selected. Okay, now if I press a rotate option, so if you see, this rotation is actually happening according to the axis of the or the origin of the cursor, the 3D cursor on my screen. Okay, but that is not something that I want. Actually, I wanted to have a rotation which is according to its own center of mass, not according to any other object. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I am going to again select all of these planks. Okay, so you can actually you can press shift and select. Otherwise, the other option is to press the key B for box. Okay, so it creates a box, B for box, and then you just create a selection like that. Okay, and then over here in the object, you can say set origin of these objects to their own center of mass. Okay, so if you do that, you will be able to rotate them individually in any direction and whatever orientation that you want to, give them, right? So now all of these are having their own center of mass. Okay, if you select this, you will see a little dot. If you select this, you see a little dot, which is their center of mass. Okay, so this being done, now what I want to do here, I want to start animating it. I know that I do have to add a plane beneath it, and I do have to add a ball which will trigger the animation. But just to test whether this is going to work fine or not, I am selecting first plank. Okay, and I'm going to add some physics properties like gravity and all of those things to the plank. Okay, so I've selected this one plank out of the array, and I'm going to click on this physics properties tab on the right, bottom right. Okay, so when you go to physics properties, there are many which we will work in future animations, but for today's animation, the property that we are going to select is the rigid body. Okay, we want this body to act like a rigid body, which will work according to the gravity of the surface on which it is. Okay, so when I clicked on rigid body, you just have to click. You don't have to change anything, although you can change the mass or something, but just make sure that this dynamic option is selected. Okay, this is by default selected. So one plank I chose and I added a rigid body on it, and the dynamic is already selected. Okay, now I will not do anything else, but I will just play this animation to see what effect does it have on my plank. So I'm gonna play the animation, and if you see, it just falls down. Okay, so of course it will fall down because I don't have a surface beneath it. Okay, it's a free space. So what I'm gonna do next thing is I'm going to add a plane here. Okay, you can press shift A. Okay, shift A is a command to add a new object. Otherwise, if you can't remember so many keys in Blender, then you can just click on add, mesh, and plane. Okay, so this is a plane that I have added, but of course I will press S for scaling it and make it much bigger. Okay, so so that all the planes and all my animation can happen. Okay, now the problem that I can see right now is this problem. Okay, half of the plank is above the plank and plane, and half of it is below, so I need to fix it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to view it from x-axis view, I guess. Yeah, I think this is fine. So I'm going to grab this plane and I'm going to bring it here somewhere. Okay, I think over here I need to also disable this snap, because otherwise it's going to automatically sort of fix where it is going to attach, and that was helpful in the first part but not now. So I'm going to switch off this snap option, and I'm going to try to fix my plane, and you can always zoom it in and see if it is actually touching the surface or not. Okay, because we want an actual 100% accuracy out here for the animation to work perfectly. So now if you see, all the planks would be on the plane. Okay, I can go back to my normal view to see that my plane is there and the planks are on top of it. Now let us again play this animation to see if the plank is now sort of attached to the gravity of the plane, or does it still show some unusual behavior. So I'm going to now again play this animation. Okay, I think looks fine to me, nothing goes wrong, but I think I should do what I should actually go back to the first part of this, right, and maybe fix it here and then play the animation. Okay, again an unusual behavior that you saw. You know what happened, I'll play it for you again. Okay, if you go here, and this plank was animated, so if you see what's happening here, I'll just make it like this a little bit so that you can see what's happening. So I play the animation and see the plank literally like cuts through the plane and goes down. Okay, again this is not going to work for us, so we have to fix something, and that something is what we have to add some physics properties also on the plane, which we have not done so far. Okay, so I'm now going to select only the plane, right, and I'm going to make it as a rigid body, same way just like I did with the plank. But one difference, when I select it as a rigid body, I do not want the plane to be dynamic. Okay, I don't want the plane to move around at all during the animation. It's a stationary object. So I have removed the dynamic part of it. Okay, let's again test whether this is working as per our requirements or not. So I'm checking the animation on the plank right now. So let me play the animation and it's fine. I think the plane stays at its place. Okay, and it is touching the plane, nothing unusual is happening. Okay, now what I'm going to do here is I am actually going to select each of the planks here. So this one is already done, it already has a dynamic here in rigid body, but not all of them. So what I'm going to do here, I am going to, okay, let me try and do it all together rather than doing it individually, because Blender allows you such shortcuts. So first of all, from the top right, I am actually going to just hide this plane for a moment. Okay, because I only want to work on the planks right now. So I'm going to hide this plane just for a moment. Okay, and then what I'm going to do here is I am again gonna box select all the planes. Okay, and I'm going to go to the object, and in the rigid body menu there is something called copy from active. Okay, so what is going to happen is that the setting that I did with that first plank, making it a rigid body, and that is the active object, is going to apply to all the planks now. Okay, so I copy from active, right? So now what would have happened if I click on this one, this plank here, you see this is also a rigid body and it is dynamic. If you select this one, this is also a rigid body and it is dynamic. So whatever settings I did on the first one has been copied onto all the planks, and that is what I wanted. Okay, now let me get back my plane again by clicking on this eye icon on the top right window here. So my plane is back, the settings are done. The only thing which is missing out here is the ball, which is going to act like a trigger, which is going to hit the first plank and make the others fall. Okay, so what I'm going to do, this is a little more critical part of it. Till now it was pretty easy, but this is a little bit more complicated, although not that much, but let's see. So I'm going to add a new UV sphere now. Okay, UV sphere, it's pretty big, so I'm going to scale it down and make it smaller. I think this much is okay, or maybe a little more smaller. Okay, now what I'm going to do here is I want to position this ball right in front of my planks. Okay, you might need a lot of moving around and like viewing it from different angles to see if you are placing it exactly at the right place or not, because just keep viewing it. It sometimes may look like it's at the perfect position, but it is usually not. Okay, and you can just toggle from these views also. Like if you go on the Z view, you will be able to see it's right in the front of it. Okay, let me also view it from different angles. Yeah, I think it looks perfectly fine to me. It's literally like in front of it. Okay, so let me go back to my this view, and now the animation that I'm going to add on the ball is a little different from the one that I did on the planks or the plane. So I'm going to select the sphere, okay, and I am going to again make it a rigid body just the way I did. But the difference over here that we have to do is, apart from making it dynamic, I also want this ball to be animated because I want it to follow a predefined path, like animated path. Okay, so I added the animated option here, and I am going to make this as a keyframe. Okay, a keyframe which is like an animated frame in which the ball is going to move. Okay, so two things I did: I ticked marked the animated option and added it as a keyframe. Okay, so if you see, this yellow little dot has also come on the timeline of my video animation. Okay, now I am just going to move let's say 12 frames. Okay, 12 frames here, and on the 12th frame what I want basically, or let me just go back again and show you one more thing. So before going back here, my ball is at this position. Let me also lock the location of this ball on the first frame. Okay, how I do that is that I press the letter I, okay, and I lock the location. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is that my animation starts at the first frame and my location of the ball is going to be here. I've logged it. Okay, now I'm going to go to 10 frames or 11, 12 frames in, ahead in the timeline. Okay, and here at this 12th frame, I want my ball to reach here somewhere. Let me see where I am. I want it to be touching the first plank on the 12th frame. Okay, so you, as I said, it's up much higher. Okay, so you will have to just do a bit of a moving around of the screens and start using the different views also to see that your ball literally just about to touch. It doesn't touch really, but it's like about to touch the frame, almost like doesn't go inside but just barely touches it. Okay, so here I think it's pretty okay. I can just make it a little more further away from the plank. Yeah, I think this is a good position. Okay, now I'm on the 12th frame right now. I'm going to lock the position of the ball again here, and I'm going to press I and lock the location here. Okay, so this position is also locked. I have my this first frame and 12th frame, and the location is locked. Okay, last thing to make this all work the way I want is I'm going to click on this 12, right click on this 12th frame which is the end of my location. I'm going to right click and say the interpolation mode is going to be linear, which means like the ball is going to have a linear animation. I think we should be, and I'll also click here. Okay, I think we should be ready to just sort of test our animation. I'm going to just test it again. So I go back here and I play the animation, and yeah, it works. See? So what happens is that when you start from the first frame where the first ball's location is, the animation moves, and then on the 12th frame it touches it, and it sort of does this. Okay, now you can always toggle with these settings a little bit. Like if I make the mass of the ball to be, let's say, 10 kgs, I make it very very heavy. Okay, so what effect is it going to bring? Let's see. I think mostly similar, but I think if I go back here and make it not animated, okay, and then go back and restart the animation, yeah, almost the same. Okay, so I think we can try this. Okay, and then I would, once you are done with this one, I want you to try another one which I tried last night. I'll show you what I did. So I did something like another animation of a wall and ball hitting the wall, this one. Okay, So this one works in this way. I'll go back to the first frame, and when I press play, it's going to cut through the wall and have this effect. Okay, you can also try this.